Welcome, golfers, to episode 4, season 2 of Hit It Where They Mow, Talking Golf in Texas. And we're very excited today to have a recent winner of a USGA championship, Miss Avery Zweig, and her father, Ivan, here with us to talk about her recent win in the USGA event and also about her career in golf. Up to age 15, are you now?
I'm 16.
16.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet 16. Sorry. And before we do that, though, I want to mention our sponsors here that are so good to bring you this show. From my right to your left or whatever, Niagara Plumbing or Niagara Conservation is one of our sponsors. And they're a big supporter of the Ascendant Volunteers of America LPGA event and also women's golf in general and charities. So we want to be sure and ask for Niagara plumbing products, low flow toilets you can get via Home Depot. Also, my 2 golf courses, Dornick Hills and Ardmore, Oklahoma, classic Perry Maxwell course, only 90 minutes from the Metroplex. They have great deals on non-resident memberships, or you can call the golf shop and book a tee time. The Tempest Golf Club, near Longview, East Texas Golf as it's meant to be, Randy Wade and all the nice folks over at Tempest. And then finally, certainly last but not least, Veritex Bank, the golf bank of Texas, which is building a new branch near Frisco and the Frisco PGA headquarters. They're all things golf. And speaking of all things golf, Avery, welcome to Hit It Where They Mow. You and I go back, I guess 9 years ago. You were 7, I think, when you were on a radio show. So
Yes.
welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
You bet. And I guess the high is still there from winning this tournament out in Washington State.
You could say so. Definitely for the first few days afterward, I didn't sleep because I was so excited and it was still kind of sinking in. But at this point, I'm just kind of trying to gear up for the events that I got into from the win. So
nice.
We'll
get into all that as we go along. What about your caddy coach, Dad over here, Ivan?
Not her coach.
Definitely not coach.
She will definitely
Oh, no.
correct anyone. You're not my coach. I hear that daily if I'm out there.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
But I love your post on Facebook, all things Seattle. You're at the fish market. You're doing this. You're doing that. What a trip! Tell us about it from your perspective, Ivan. Just going out there and the tournament and kind of set the stage for us.
It was really fun, and it's funny that you mentioned the Facebook post. You're like, Dad, you post way too much on Facebook. I'm like, Avery, do you know how many people get mad? Or they're like, I really love your posts about Avery, and so it's kind of funny. It's like my page, but kind of from my perspective about her. She runs all her social media now, so I just have a kind of narrative of my own, which is interesting. But we had a great time. We got out there early enough where we were able to go to the fish market, and every time you watch ESPN football games, they always show the fish market, and It looks like it's this big gigantic place, and it really isn't. Like, it's crazy. They're right close to you, and it's not super big, but it is a really cool market and just area. And then it was like, I'm telling you, the whole week was magical. We got there, the weather was like 78, no humidity. It had been like 55 for like 3 straight weeks and raining, and we were just dreading, like, oh my God, the weather's gonna be terrible. And it was between 78 and 90 the entire time, perfectly sunny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a big deal for them.
Yeah,
right.
You could see so the course is perfect because you can see Mount Rainier over about 5 or 6 holes, and then the Olympic Mountains, I think it is, on the other side of the Sound. It's just a really scenic place and beautiful, and it's really green because they have vegetation year round. Even though it gets a little cold, it barely gets below freezing that often, so they have it's very lush there. It's really, really nice. Course was in ideal shape, and just all came together. It helps when you're playing with the number 1 player in the world. Her partner Gianna is incredible. I mean, I swear she could play on tour now. She's played in tour events. We've seen them play, and she was unbelievable. And she's a year younger.
Yeah.
So,
and that Clemente, that means something to people my age. Roberto Clemente, great baseball player.
They say Clement. I don't know.
Oh, they say Clemente.
Roberto Clemente is the GOAT.
Right.
And a Hall of Famer, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. My first trivia question for you. You're a budding sports journalist. By the way, your British imitation was hilarious.
Thank you.
We'll get into that later because I think you have to have that to get a good job at the Golf Channel.
Well, at least it had some entertainment value because, like, we know for certain I won't be casted onto a British TV show or movie anytime soon.
Faulty Towers will not be calling.
Well, it reminded me of a scenario from Royal Liverpool. I got to play there years ago in an amateur event that was as social as much as it was competitive. And the guy was the captain of the Hesketh Golf Club. And I said, I need to get a bite here at the turn. He goes, would you get me a Mars bar, please?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, when you're over there, you eat Mars bars, not Snickers. But I digress. My trivia question, what great golfer grew up in Seattle, near downtown Seattle?
Oh, gosh.
I know this.
I definitely don't.
All the ladies like him.
All the ladies like him.
Allow me to answer. She doesn't.
Okay.
I'm gonna
that was unfair.
pass.
How about a nickname?
Boom Boom?
No, I don't know.
Fred
Well-
Couples.
Oh,
He
okay.
did. He went to University of Houston, but he's from up
Okay.
from
He
up
played
there.
Jefferson Park, a muni near downtown that I have played, with the big screens on the driving range so the balls don't go out in the street. And I think his mother would give him like $5, and there was $3 for the green fee and $2 to eat a hamburger. So he didn't have enough money for a glove. So he's never worn a glove.
That's
but
funny.
Again, I digress. But Seattle is such a cool place, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's a really beautiful city. I was really excited to see it, and then the way that our trip went, it was kind of perfect. Like, we had a little bit of time in the city, got to get the overall essence, and then went and focused on the golf. So
Absolutely. Now, this is quite a grind, isn't it, when you win a USGA women's four-ball? Do you have to qualify for match play and then go into match play? Or just kind of walk us through it.
So any USJ event that has championship on the end is stroke play, 2 days, cut, and then match.
Okay.
So they had 64 sides, and a side is basically a team.
Okay.
So that's 128 players. And then they cut it to 32 sides, which is 64 players. So you don't have as many matches as you would in like a single championship. But it's still a grind. And stroke play now, like, Gianna and I are comfortable enough, like, working together and know that we're good enough to where, like, it's definitely not an issue whether or not we're going to miss the cut. So
Well, let's knock on wood with that one.
yeah.
Boy, just the golf gods will definitely strike you down for that.
We just what we try to do is just improve every day and get the course down, understanding how we should play it, like how the holes work, getting more familiar with our lines. It's kind of ironic it's called the home course, but by the time you're done with a USGA championship, or if you make it to like the quarters, semis, or the final, it actually does start to feel like a home course because you just play it so many times.
I saw that name and I thought, that is kind of strange. And then I went on their website. What a beautiful setting and a public golf course. Anyone can go play there, right?
So, right. So they call it the home course because it's home of
The Washington Golf Association.
it's Washington Golf, but they also have like Pacific Northwest Golf Association, and they're
'cause
affiliated with it
encompass
too.
Oregon too. Yeah.
So it is a really beautiful spot that they have, and it was in excellent shape. And like, it was kind of weird because I lost some of my stuff. so we go back the day we go back the day after, and like the 150 poles were back up, and there was full on public play, and I was like, that is so weird. We just played here in the finals of a USGA championship, and it's just back to normal. But yeah,
they take all the poles up.
so you won't see any 150 poles at a USGA championship.
Okay.
But they did put them back.
So how many rounds did you play? You had your 2 qualifying rounds, and then how many matches did you have to win it all?
Well, and 2 practice. You had 2 practice.
Yeah,
rounds.
two
so I
practice
played
rounds.
2
So
practice
4
rounds.
rounds,
So
basically.
1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4. I gotta count. Wait, I think it was 9.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 9.
Yeah.
We honestly we were fortunate because we were really hot like in our first few matches and got off to pretty significant leads. So it was mentally draining, like match play always is, but it's fun. But it wasn't like every match wasn't this like big grind.
Right.
Because we sort of got in a groove early and never really let up. And I think that definitely matters if you have the opportunity to be in a groove and have a lead, just because you're not exerting yourself as much and like having to be so zoned in and stay present and play all 18 holes. Like when you do that repetitively, it just kind of wears on you. So stars kind of align for us.
Yeah, they didn't play past the 14th hole till the third match.
Wow.
So, and I think they played 112 holes total, including not including practice rounds, but including the stroke play, 36 for stroke play, and then and they set the record for the fewest amount of holes needed to win, which is 76 holes in match play to win.
And how many matches is that? 4 or 5?
5.
5.
Yeah, because they go one. You play
so
one
it
the first
been
day.
90 holes, and they only played 76.
Right. Yeah, they went 1. And then they went 2-2. So, yeah,
Wow.
they went a round of 32, 16-8, and then you semifinals, finals, and then you're done.
Well, we know you're a really fine player and have been for some time. And the last time I actually saw you play was when it was like barbaric heat out at the Old American Club.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's so funny because a lot of people, like, that's the last time they saw me play.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it was hot. Like, I don't know how the people that stayed, like, were there, because if I were watching and not playing, I would have left after, like, 3 or 4 holes, too. That's some of the hottest conditions I've ever played in. Actually, hotter than that, if any of you watching are curious about booking a golf trip to Memphis, Tennessee in the middle of summer, don't. Okay.
Oh, Memphis is brutal, like Houston or
So
something.
we'll go ahead and cross
It's worse.
Tennessee and the Memphis Tourism Board
it's
off
worse.
possible sponsors. What a gleaming endorsement.
Oh yeah,
perfect.
I'm sorry about that, but I'm just trying to be a woman of the people, keep people
Well, Memphis
safe.
is the most oft-mentioned city in rock music, so it's got a lot going for it.
Yeah.
But weather's not one of them.
Yeah, you just need to go in the fall or early spring, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was the surface of the sun there, and it was so. But I agree with you. And quick funny story.
Okay.
That LPGA tournament. I mean, I've watched. A lot of time you'll see me there. If I'm not caddying, I'm filming her.
Sure.
And I literally, the 7th hole, I was like, I had to lay down on the ground. I was like, my back was killing me. I don't know what was going on, and I thought I was going to pass out. So like after the 9th hole, I left. And
then I birdied 10, and I went over to my mom.
Yeah,
And
she
I
didn't
said,
know.
I didn't know I was playing that bad. Like, why is he so mad? She's like, oh, he's not mad. He thought he was about to pass out. And I was like, oh, okay.
I wasn't mad at all.
That's okay.
I
we're
literally
good.
was feeling really
There's
off.
something about that course too. It's flat.
Yeah.
The trees are all off to the side.
typically it's
just so
windy.
hot.
It's super
But that
windy.
time of
Right,
year-
right.
So it made the course, probably play a lot easier than it normally does as well, because it's really breezy there in the spring and in the fall sometimes. So when there's no wind there, it has no defense at all along that lake, and it was really humid. It was like 112 with the heat index. It was unbelievable how hot it was.
Right, and actually a cold front moved in over the weekend and made it more tolerable. And
98. Yeah.
yeah, well, no, it was actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
And,
It's so chilly.
And I'm having a little brain freeze, but her last name is Coe, the winner. She's such a
Lydia
great
Ko.
player, lives in Frisco. Jin Young.
Jin Young Ko,
She
yeah.
ended up winning it. That
Yeah.
was my first time to watch her. I volunteered for that tournament. I was at a tee box way out there, and a friend of mine went there, and Angela, she went off into the forest. She said, I'm not sitting out here in the heat. And I don't know why, I've just got to share this, but this Asian guy walked up wearing sandals. I mean, like the little flip-flops.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, who can walk this golf course in flip-flops?
Yeah, and it's got that.
And he's drinking a Shiner's beer. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, and the rock cart path and
Yeah,
the dirt, like it's
yeah.
not conducive to that kind of
Well,
footwear.
I'm digressing a lot here
Yeah,
today.
sorry.
That's fine. That we have, like I say, it's the Johnny Carson show, and you're the star, Avery.
Oh, gosh.
And tell me about your friendship and your association with Gianna. And your dad was just saying she may be the #1 ranked junior player. I don't know. You may be number 2.
Well-
I'm not sure. Tell me about it.
No, she is #1 in the world.
Okay.
So her play kind of speaks for itself. But I've been friends with Gianna since we were. I mean, I actually remember the first time we
met her-
met.
she was 7.
It was she was 7 and I was 8. I actually was sick when we met in Arizona. And it's a whole other story. But we became friends, and in the junior golf community, like there are certain people where like if you're good when you're really young, and you're fortunate enough, you just kind of keep going up. And Gianna and I both had similar experiences there. So I sort of kept seeing her, and we were always friends. And then we played a practice round with her when she was probably 11. And I was looking for a 4-ball partner because I played in 5 4-balls with now 3 different partners. So, but my second partner we knew was going to go to college, and when they go to college, typically they don't play anymore. So I was looking for another partner, and Gianna was just like striping the ball as an 11-year-old playing like a 6,400 yard amateur golf course. And we were like, okay, yeah, she would probably be a really good option for that. And of course, like probably didn't expect to do like as well as we did, but we wound up shooting 8 under in qualifying. And then that was really...
This was her first?
Yeah,
USGA
that was her first.
Wow.
We work really well together. We're friends, but we're also the type of friends, like we communicate super well, and we sort of balance each other out on the course. Like my best performance is going to be when I'm super positive and kind of jovial and just relaxed. And Gianna has this like sort of killer instincts, which like I have too, just I show it differently. But she gets like really determined, and it's great. Like it can be a motivator, but sometimes if she like presses too hard, it can kind of get difficult, which I have the same thing for on the other side of the spectrum. So needless to say, we balance each other out super well. And when we were younger, we sort of displayed maturity on the course that was far beyond our years. So anyway, we shot 8 under in qualifying, and then we got to Merido and like made it to the semifinals. And there's a photo of us hugging like after the quarterfinal match. And like we looked at it this year, and there's we did like a side by side of the hug after we won and the hug after we won in the quarterfinals, and it was just really funny because it like looks the exact same, and it's like a full circle moment. But I was like, Gianna, we literally acted as if we won the whole tournament when we won our quarterfinal match, because we were just so excited to be on the last day. But this year we're definitely
that was a really stressful match though.
It was.
I mean, it was down to the last shot.
The quarters at Merido in 2021, we wound up
really good
winning
players.
1 up.
Yeah, and
it was like the whole match. No one ever led significantly, and we had like a 1-up lead coming down the stretch, which honestly, like as far as stress goes, sometimes that's more stressful than being down, because you're like, okay, well, I can win this if I just get it in the clubhouse. And that was tough, but
it's more
really
stressful
fun.
To be leading narrowly than being down. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, at least in my view, like especially in best ball, because when you get really good players, it's hard to earn a hole, because when you get further and further into the tournament, like they've all seen the course a ton and they're all playing super well. Right. So it's really like what happens on that particular day. And like you could get players that play super well as a team together, and you really have to earn the holes that you win, because you're likely not going to get many mistakes out of your competitors.
You mentioned Merido in 2021. So you had played with Gianna once before? Or?
Yes. So we played in 2021 and then in 2022 as well.
Okay. So this is your 3rd time together.
Yes.
Okay. I misheard before. And you made it to the quarterfinals at Merido, you said?
We made it to the semis.
Semis, okay.
Yeah.
And they lost in 20 holes in dramatic.
And so this is a really good story.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So
Merido, folks, is a local course here that's extremely difficult.
So
hard.
It's very hard.
And like Albert Huddleston, the owner of the course, takes pride in how impossibly difficult it is. And like if he gets really good players that go there and think that something's easy, like he'll intentionally put more money into it and try to trick it up so he can make it even harder. Which like that made it ideal for a best ball tournament, because you didn't have people shooting like 8 under.
Right.
And it was great for us. But anyway, so we won the quarterfinal match, which I can show you the photo after. Okay. It's a really great photo of us. And then, so when you're in the semis of the 4-ball, you go on to the next day. So we were there the last day, and that was like Gianna and I's both first experience of being like in the finals of a USGA championship. Sure. And it's just kind of strange, because like you think when you accomplish something big like that, like there's going to be people around and all this hype, but in reality, like you pull up to the property and it's still dark because they have you tee off at 7:15. And there's I mean, how many people is that?
Well, and it was a COVID year.
Yeah.
Like right
And
after
there's-
COVID, they had all these protocols. Nobody was allowed on the course, so it was like really weird just being the
Yeah.
only ones there. That was kind of surreal.
And there's literally 8 people on the range, and it was kind of jarring, and neither of us knew what to expect. So we wound up drawing the eventual champions, Alexa Saldana and Savannah Barber, who I knew playing junior golf growing up, and Gianna and I were super young, so we like mishandled the whole like exhaustion thing and not realizing how much of a role mental and physical exhaustion plays. But a lot of that also is just experience and knowing like, okay, I need to rest because I know I need to be like full of energy the second we tee off. Which is definitely something that we put into practice this week. And it was super helpful having learned that for me, because I knew like, okay, it doesn't matter what I have to do. If I have to go to sleep at 6 p.m., like I have to be in tip top shape for a semifinal or final match, because there's only so many times you're going to get an opportunity to compete at this level. But we wound up drawing Savannah and Alexa, who went out to win in 2021, and my actually now coach caddied for them, Justin Pointer, and he caddied for both of them, and it was a really, really tough match.
Now, how did he do that? He caddied double?
Yeah.
So his actual student, he has a golf academy.
Okay.
It's him and 3 other instructors that run it. It's called Crown Golf. I'm like, this is not a sponsored message, I promise. It sounds like it.
It's okay. It's okay.
But I absolutely love that academy and my coach. But I didn't go to him back then, and so he caddied for his student Alexa, and then Savannah sees one of the other instructors at the academy, so she pushed her own bag. But he was kind of advising them, and they won in 20 holes, and then how long
that's
ago?
tight. That's
Yeah.
tight. 20
And then
holes.
a year-
You're still,
They
still
were
bothers you.
no. It's just like I lost my final game in high school 1-0 in the bottom of the 7th after pitching 20 innings, and I'll never get over it ever. But it's okay. But I do lose sleep over it.
Yeah.
But
and then a year and a half later, I wind up taking lessons from him, which when we were that young and like that close to winning, there's part of us that were kind of like angry that we had lost in that way. And especially knowing that like, I at least knew that I didn't give my mental and physical all because I just didn't know how, because I was so young, and I didn't know like the difference between tired Avery and energized Avery, but I do now. So that is kind of a little funny story, but Justin has now been instrumental in my career and kind of molding me into the player that I am and the one that I'm going to become. So
well, we definitely want to talk about that, because I want to talk a little bit. I think our viewers would love to know about the road to take, and as a parent of a great golfer and also as a good young golfer. And you're actually older than Gianna, right? Because your total age was 31, so you're the 16 and she's the 15.
31, just ancient.
I know. It's slipping away from you.
It is. Time slipping through my fingers.
Well, we go back to when you were 7 years old. Let's go back now, and I'm going to skip around here a little bit, but here you are, USGA champion at 16, and of course you still got a lot in front of you. You've already played an LPGA event.
3.
3, okay.
He's played VOA twice and Pelican, the Pelican Championship in Tampa last year.
Wow. I was going to ask, where in Florida is Gianna from?
So she's actually from Ohio, but they moved down to Florida. So she's now in Estero, which is on the West Coast.
Okay.
Just to accommodate her golf. And I think they like it a little bit more there because Ohio is very cold.
Yeah.
And her coach is based out of there, so it's ideal.
Okay. So she's in on the west coast of Florida, and you played in the Pelican tournament. You played in 2 VOAs, but you're 7 years old and you're on my radio show because you're already playing. Tell us how you got hooked on golf.
So, I've told this story so many times; it never gets old though.
Okay.
My dad used to bring his sales clients out to the golf course when I was really little because he had a business consultant that asked him, what do you like to do? And he was like, I like to work out and I like to golf. Okay, let's make golf into a selling point. So he would bring his clients out. So in my eyes, being 2 and 3 years old, I would see that my dad was always going out to the golf course and came back in colorful golf clothes. And I actually told my preschool class when they asked what our parents did for their careers that my dad worked at TPC Craig Ranch, which is still my home course. Thank you, TPC.
Yes,
but
nice golf.
It is a very beautiful golf course.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate. But he did not work at the golf course at the time. And I actually distinctly remember, because he had an office in Richardson, kind of by where we lived at the time. And he was like, "You see, Avery, that's my office. That's where I work."
Drove in my car, Avery. That's where my company was called IT Works.
Craig
this
Ranch.
is IT Works. We're at my building. My employees are in there.
That's great.
And she's like, "Oh."
So after that,
it just looked attractive to you from the
yes,
get-go.
I did make a distinction that he didn't work there, but he did start taking me out. It actually started on a putting mat. We had this like Odyssey thing from the PJ Superstore and US Kids Club, and I would putt and like practice and hit 3 putts and run around before preschool. Like, boy, I love if that's all I had to do now.
Yeah, she thought she was a golfer. She'd putt like 5 putts at 7:30 in the morning.
And then I had my first tournament when I was 5. It was a US Kids event, and I shot 65 on 9 holes.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's still pretty good.
I like to pause after the 65 just so like for a moment people can think that I shot seven under at my
out
first
of the
tournament.
womb,
Yeah,
below par, or double
am
par.
Tiger Woods. I was not, and I think like a few of the holes I definitely reached the stroke limit that they have, but I got a medal, and I was super excited. And he actually has a video of me like I made this weird
like cooing noise.
She's
like looking at you, go. It's the cutest thing ever.
I was so accustomed to playing team sports, and like when I get the same medal that everyone on my team does, like, man, that sucks. So I got my medal, and I was proud of it. And yeah, I was just kind of hooked from there. I mean, honestly, looking back on it, like knowing my personality a little bit better now, I just love being outside. Yeah. And I loved golf, and I have so many just excellent memories of like doing wedge practice when I was 7 and 8 years old, and it being summer and green, and I'm just super fortunate that golf has been the path for me.
Absolutely. I like the way my friend and associate George Mayshock, it's the world's largest small fraternity. Yeah. Our sorority. It's friendships, and it's even though it's a very individual, dare I say, selfish kind of game. I mean, you got to look after number one when you're playing golf. Mm-hmm. And now the team perspective is a little different. Like you say, gelling as a team.
Yeah, it is.
When you're playing at that level as a 4-ball, like you say, it's tough to win a hole. You got to.
It takes a special couple of personalities, either that or just 2 extremely high level players. But if you have good team synergy, that definitely gives you an advantage.
I would say the synergy definitely gives you 1 + 1 = 3 versus how many times did Tiger and Phil play together and it was just a total disaster.
Right.
And they were 2 of the best players forever. And even Brooks Koepka and DJ, they were friends. I don't know if they really had a rift or not, but when they played together, they were also kind of a mess. And then, but then you put like Justin Thomas and is it Spieth they play together? Yeah, they're just like magical.
What a
and
duo.
they're awesome, but they are 1 + 1 = 3.
The biggest challenge, this is very rudimentary, but the biggest challenge in a 4-ball, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you got to play like they're not there. Because it's easy to say, oh, well, she's going to make that putt or whatever, and you've got to grind even when it looks like the other person's in control, because sometimes you kick yourself later. Why didn't I, chip out? I was thinking she was going to. Yeah. Yeah. Am I wrong about that, or?
No, definitely not. I'm really fortunate, and Gianna is too. Like, our parents are there and they're caddying for us. Yeah. And they sort of know, like, when is it worth to finish the hole and when is it not.
Well, they weren't doing that initially, and they had 2 bogeys on the first 9 holes or whatever.
We did, yeah. We had a very awkward start, and I have had like a tough season and making changes with my game and developing. So I hadn't played a big tournament like that in a while. So I was like super nervous.
Well, right.
And definitely was not expecting that it was going to end up the way that it did. But isn't that just a beautiful thing about this game?
I was so excited following it again on Facebook through your dad, because dare I say this, you're only 16, but you kind of made a comeback. Is that right? Or I'm a little bit too
Yes.
too
I
Yes.
mean,
too embellishing, if you will.
You could say it's a comeback.
Yeah.
Comeback's kind of a strong word. It's
Yeah,
just,
it is. It's too much.
Like
Yeah.
the happenstance of my career and like the fundamentals that I built, they worked great for a time, and then I didn't seek the right information at the right time, and because of that, I struggled. But in hindsight, I'm super glad to have gone through that, because like I look at photos of me at this point last year and just think about like what was going on in my life and just how I approached everything, and think to myself like, man, how much this has taught me. And that's sort of one of the things I love about golf, which I'm not privy to other sports and how that works and how it helps you develop into a better human. But I know golf for sure, because it is such a mental discipline. It teaches you a lot about life and conduct, and the process of trying to get better and become world class also teaches you how to be great in general. And in the process of struggling, I've sort of surrounded myself with people that are trying to be great and are trying to improve constantly, because that's kind of what we want to do in life, but also in sport. So you could say comeback, but I just look at it more as like, it's 1 year where maybe it wasn't my best, but it's golf.
I'll just say this. That was a little bit strong, but I was just thinking while you were talking, Ben Crenshaw is my contemporary. He went through a horrible slump after he turned pro.
Was it ball striking? It couldn't have been putting,
Well,
because he was so great putting.
Don January just passed away, and Don was such a dear man, but he had a great needle, and he said he was going to get him a hunting jacket so no one would shoot him out in the woods, because he was hunting his ball all the time.
Oh my God.
But Ben got out there, and he began to hear different, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Yeah.
Finally, Ben came to the conclusion, I need to be Ben Crenshaw.
Yeah.
And then he won 19 times, 2 Masters. Jordan.
Yeah,
It's kind of up and down right now.
Well-
So it's golf. I mean, you're going to go through a dry period. I'll give you one more, and then I'll move on to more fun topics. But I remember watching the Nike tournament in the fall over at Colonial when Scotty Scheffler was a freshman at Texas, and he couldn't break 80. He had grown so tall,
Right.
and his dad, Scott, who's a wonderful person, was suffering. We're walking along with a prospective agent, and I said, he's just, it's just a phase, And sure enough, look at him now, #1 golfer in the world.
Yeah.
But he went through a learning curve, if you will. And as a freshman, he's older than you are now. So anyway,
Yeah,
story.
one thing I will add, like when you're struggling, everyone's the expert, and that's the truth with everything, not just in golf. And that's one thing that I've learned. Like everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Like that's just how humans are. And it's what you choose to listen to, and like sort of having the ability to discern, like, okay, this is worth giving my time and mental energy, and this is not. And so there's always going to be noise, and I'm trying to adopt the mindset, and it's a constant work in progress, but sort of that eternal optimism of like anything that I go through, good or bad, is going to propel me to be better.
yeah.
When you apply that in an everyday scenario with golf, it helps a lot, because it's like, okay, on a tough day of practice, like this isn't going well, but what can I do right now to ensure that this is going to teach me something that I can apply later? And when you start to do that over and over and over again, and it like accumulates, you realize how much you've learned about yourself as a player, like self-knowledge, but also just about the game and like how golf really works. And it's tough, but like I wouldn't trade it for the world. So I mean, you can call it slump, but as long as you just continue to apply yourself and continue to improve, like you never know how good you could get. So everyone's journey looks different, though.
Exactly. And you just made me realize something, that I'm one of those person that wants to say something, and I want to help that person, but I'm not an expert. I shouldn't be saying anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think maybe it's good to know that a lot of people that are experts, they're well intentioned. It's just you have to sort it out yourself. I
No,
guess.
everyone's well intentioned,
Yeah,
and like I'm
yeah.
super fortunate. I have a good following of really good people that
Yeah.
care. But it's just kind of a natural part of it, and I don't take offense to anything. Like I
cool.
appreciate that so many people care about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I just look at it like a blessing, or try to look at it like a blessing. Like, okay, if you're going to do anything remarkable or anything at a high level outside of sport, you're always going to be subject to public opinion.
Yeah.
So if you can learn how to compartmentalize that and like discern what's important, what's not, who am I listening to, what's the truth, then that will be invaluable down the line.
And I would think that's a common denominator for all those people I just mentioned. For Ben, it was Harvey Pinnock. For Scotty, Randy Smith. Jordan, Cameron McCormick. You've got somebody that, hey, I trust this person. I'm going to stick with what they got going on. Tell me from your perspective as a parent. She said she listened to some people that maybe she shouldn't have. I mean, just the whole journey so far for you. I love when you call it the journey too.
To say that she shouldn't have listened to them maybe isn't. I think actually all of the golf advice she's gotten she's had 3 or 4 instructors. They're all very good instructors.
Sure.
The problem is some of them may have limited experience or skill sets. A couple of the guys are very well accomplished instructors of the year, but sometimes you've been with them a long time, the message doesn't resonate. Sometimes they've been teaching you a long time, and to really correct, like she used to do this little jump move, and so like to really correct all that, you'd really have to make wholesale changes and kind of have for the last year. I mean, she's hitting it kind of everywhere, and some days she could score really well and some days she couldn't. And then the more she got into really making changes, it's kind of like you take 1 step forward, 2 steps back,
Sure.
And so she was in the middle of 2 steps back before she could really jump forward. And then you're like, what am I doing? I can't even hit the ball. But when she was 7 and they'd have her do little drills, and when you're doing drills for fields, you're not going to hit the ball well. But when she was 7 and I'm watching this and she wasn't hitting the ball, I'm like, oh my God, she's never going to hit the ball again. So it would make me a nervous wreck watching it ever since she was 7. And so like, I will say, getting with the Crown and Justin Pointer, she'll tell you a lot more if you ask. But it's been a game changer for her life and her golf, and
Excellent.
The things he's gotten her to like believe now. I'll pat myself on the back. I was telling her this stuff 2 and 3 years ago, but she doesn't want to listen to Dad. Dad comes on deaf ears. But you know what? You want them to be strong, independent people. So that's fine. It kind of comes with the meal, But he's really, I was like, hey, as you start getting older, I didn't want her practicing 8 hours a day when she's 9 years old. She's going to burn out, So
Sure.
we'd have a very effective practice. But, he's like, hey, if you want to be on the LPGA Tour, you want to be the best in the world, this is an all-day thing every day. And so she started working with him. And I'm telling you, it was like Mr. Miyagi, 2 weeks of just takeaway. 2 weeks on hinge, 2 weeks. I mean, it was like 6 weeks of just redoing each thing, and her hand path, and so now, so now she's gotten it where she can play effectively, but Justin
cool.
Justin deserves obviously she gets the credit for putting in the hours, but Justin, with the mindset, that's the missing ingredient she was not getting from others, and it's not their fault. I mean, they have a 1 hour, they're backed up. He has invested so much time, and he's seen her play multiple times. He had a front row seat at Merido.
Right.
He got to see her play in the elite level.
That's because we sort of cite that experience a lot.
Yeah.
And my dad does a good job articulating it, but it's when you're with a truly great coach and they're very knowledgeable, they make a very complex thing simple. And I like to overcomplicate things. I like to project. I like to be like, oh my gosh, I don't know.
Really?
I don't know what to do. I might as well just stop. I can't.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how to hit the ball.
Yeah.
What?
Every day for about 2 or 3 months there, it was like practice was so hard. And I'm here to advocate for that. Anyone who is struggling with golf, I get it. I totally understand. This is a very, very difficult game. But if you are working on the right stuff and you're confident in what you're listening to, it takes time and experience. And it is a really cool thing when, yesterday, for example, I went out and I didn't have a warm up and I didn't really practice very much the couple days before because it had rained, and I just teed off, and like I was hitting the ball so weird. I was like, wow, okay, this is gonna be a really gritty day. Okay. And then about 4 holes into it, I actually figured out what was going on, and then I started hitting the ball great. And that's all just from self-knowledge and experience. But the only way that comes about, like money can't buy that, instruction can't buy that. It's strictly just hours and hours and hours of being out there and understanding like what feels a certain way, and just knowing how to apply something and be better and self-correct. And the more experience you have with it, the faster you are at it, which is really what the pros are great at, because like when they get off, they're not going to get off by very much. And when they do, they're so self-aware that they can just adjust like that.
Wow.
And it's a really fun skill set. And that's part of why golf is so fun, because it's a challenge, and it's a new challenge every day, and every shot's different. But, I've been, wow, I keep hitting that. Keep hitting it. I've been really fortunate to have excellent instruction, and the Crown Golf and all the instructors there, just the culture has changed like me as a player. But that's also with me investing in their message and being at the right point in my career and maturity level to truly hear it.
Literally from the time she got out of school at 12 o'clock until dark every day. So in February, it was 6 o'clock, 5:30, whatever. And then now, I mean, we were out at the tribute last night till 8:45. Granted, we were delayed because the rain and stuff. That's why so the range was closed. So I left.
Which, by the way, they have really pretty sunsets there. That was that was a really fun.
It was really nice out there. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I was going to say, you know, golf is probably the most difficult game to watch if you care about the person playing. Oh, and then to think about being their dad. I mean, I feel for you, man. I mean, it's got to be hard to deal with all of it.
Well, I will say this though. So. Whether it was willing or not, I was sort of just, hey, Dad, stay away. Not by her coach, by her. She said, I need to work on all this. I need to figure this out. So for about 3 months, I was not involved, like kind of persona non grata. And then it was funny. We on the way to Seattle, we stopped in Denver, and she's playing in the U.S. girls now in Colorado Springs, but we're playing an AJGA there in a couple of weeks. So like, hey, let's stop there. We have a layover anyway. So we play, and so she's out there warming up, and I'm just kind of standing there like, God, I haven't been here in this position with her for a while. Right. And we do like the first couple of holes, and it dawned on me, I'm like, first of all, I only have a couple of years left of her being a junior. Sure. I mean, I may caddy for her in some amateur events when she's in college or whatever, or maybe even if she's a pro. But, I was like, I got 2 years left of this. I'm going to have fun.
Yeah.
I need to try my best to stop living and dying with every shot.
Sure.
I think I kept my reactions pretty well under control. Did I not?
No, he did. He did. The thing is, we spent so much time around each other. Like when we're both nervous or excited, the energies kind of clash a little bit.
Yeah.
In the previous world. But,
in the previous world. And I think, like, at least I'm trying to look at that as an opportunity. Like, okay, just learn how to manage it, because having this skill set, like managing your dad, managing like a stressful and excitement filled golf tournament and all of that, like just the people skills that golf has taught me and continues to teach me. It's truly insane. But yeah, it's fun.
One thing about golf, and I want to move on to some lighter matter, because I love the other things that you do with your golf journalism, and we want to get into that.
Thank you.
But someone once wrote that golf is not the best word to describe the sport. It should be disappointment. And
that's
the reason,
rather cynical.
Wow. The reason I say that is when you are the world's greatest golfer, like Scotty Scheffler, you're only winning once every blue moon, and it's you just have to. I don't know what you call it, but you just have to mature, I guess. I don't know what any other word to use.
Well, Rose Zhang going pro.
Yeah.
I mean, what else was she? She won the medal, the individual title twice in a row. She's done like everything you could possibly do.
Right.
And she's like the biggest like class act, just so awesome as a girl. Sure. Like, the only thing that was going to be newsworthy at this point was if she didn't win. And like you're pointing out, I mean, she won 12 times out of 20 starts, broke Tiger Woods' record by 8. I don't know why they're comparing female to male, but that's another story. But so, I mean, she's as epic as it could possibly get. And so literally the only news you'd be seeing about her would be when she doesn't win almost. But, oh, yeah, she won again. Oh, yeah, she won the ANWA again. I mean, so But sports in general are heartbreakers.
Yeah, I guess just to say that in perspective. But by the way, I'm watching the the Charles Schwab Challenge, and I'm watching the early morning rounds, and Patrick Rogers comes on. And he had a lower stroke average at Stanford than Tiger did. And here's a guy, he's kind of a journeyman. He's making a good living, but that just really surprised me. But he was something like 70.2 stroke average in college. Just crazy good.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one thing that your dad sent over today that just shocked me, but I thought in a wonderful way. You've always been so, may I use this word, ebullient? You're just a very positive personality. And
wait, that's a good word. I love words. Hold on. Can I
okay.
How do you spell that? I
want to look it up. Right. Well, I think
Ebullient.
I've read it at the sports page years ago, but it was about someone else. But anyway, the British accent thing was funny on the Golf Channel, but also you wrote a beautiful piece about Kathy Whitworth when she passed away.
Yeah.
You wrote some other things. You're working on an article about this thing, but the thing that shocked me was you've helped raise $500,000 in charitable contributions. I don't know what that was from. I just saw it on your resume. So just a little bit about off the course and your love of the game and how that plays out in your journalism and just a lot of the things you do social media wise and fundraising wise and that kind of thing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, I appreciate the recognition of that. I just typically start out by saying and thinking like I'm super fortunate that golf can sort of be like an outlet into other things because there's so many industries that sort of collide with it. Right. And I've been able to make a positive impact with a lot of help from my dad and other people and
her mom.
Because I was young while it was like my idea and I did want to be doing it and like wanted to play to raise money when I was younger. The like actual management side of it was all my dad and my mom.
Sure.
So I have a really, really great support system, and that's really been reflected in the impact that I've made. Although it appears like it's just me, it's not just me. It takes a big team. But I think that's definitely something that my parents wanted to convey to me too, and that's something that my grandparents conveyed to both my mom and my dad and their respective sides. And just giving back and always being connected with a community and using our little tagline was utilizing your skills to benefit those in need. And I just like, I love doing stuff like this. I love connecting with people. I love talking to people. And I love helping people. Like, I feel like I would be like a coach or teacher if I wasn't like an actual athlete myself. So it's something that I really enjoy doing. And like a lot of people actually don't know that about me, but I don't do it because I like want attention. I just love, connecting with people, being around people, and giving back. And the journalism too, that's another thing, the excellent Texas support system with Eli Jordan and everyone at Avid Golfer. They kind of took a chance on me because when I first got published, I had just turned 14 when I wrote the article. And I was 13 when I wrote like a mock article for them. They're like, oh yeah, this is good. And then I won Annika and they're like, okay, well, you can write something. And he actually didn't understand what I was writing because the way that I wrote my first article, I'm actually a really big fan of Quentin Tarantino now. But when I was 14, his movies were a little bit much for me at that time. But I didn't realize that I was doing it. But I just knew like, okay, well, what's a really interesting way I can lay this out? Because writing a piece about 18 holes of golf, like that's boring. There's no way that you can possibly put in that much content in an article without it being like, I hit it here, then I hit it here, then I made birdie, and then I celebrated, and then I went, like, that's just boring. So I had this thing that I had worked on with projecting in the future. Like, I still do it to this day. Granted, I disciplined myself a lot more, but I like to visualize like anything good or bad that could possibly happen so I can be prepared. And you know, I didn't have any final group experience. Like I was so young. So like my head just kept going to like, well, what if you actually win? Like that's, what if that actually happens? And then of course you think about everything that you get and like the bag and the exemptions and the ranking boosts. And then all of a sudden you're living a week ahead and you've yet to even tee the ball up. So I started with like me projecting into winning, actually. So it seems like it's the end, but it's actually just in my head. And then I go back through my morning routine. So it's been a really cool kind of creative outlet. And I've always just loved the wordsmith aspect of the English language, like learning new words and applying them, and which is great for journalism. But like when I'm talking to people my age, like I've actually had people say to me, like, speak in English, please. Like, we don't understand you.
So she's writing this article it took her maybe a week. It was very quick. And she kept, do you want to read it? I'm like, no, I just send it to me at the end. And then I think she got so put out with asking me and me saying no, I just said, send me the end. So she literally finished it, sent it to Eli, and didn't even send it to, her mom or I almost had a heart attack. I'm like, wait, you already submitted this to the editor? She's like, yeah. And then I read it. I was like, oh. Well, and then Eli's like, I didn't change anything except like 2 punctuation things.
Yeah, it was
and
kind
she was
of
14.
I
It was crazy. They gave us a heart attack.
I was upset with him because he was like, I don't understand this. I don't want to read it. And I was like, Dad, it's art. It's beautiful. And he didn't get that. And
but it was still in work.
So
where does that come from? Do you read a lot, or because kids don't read as much as
she used to?
I used to.
Or you used to? Okay,
I used to.
Lots.
Because these words pop into your head. Where do they come from? From where you've read it.
I always, like, no matter what my interests are, I always kind of pick up on the linguistic side and like the art of putting words together. At the time when I wrote that, I was actually like a really, really into Taylor Swift, and not that not that like the emotional ballads and the breakups inspired me. It's just
lyrics.
her lyricism, right? And because you have to be shown, and just I really love editing essays, actually, because it's like, how can I best display this so it's like interesting, and but it also conveys my point the most, and just the brain power that goes behind creating a story in a lyrical manner, or that was a narrative piece, so in a narrative manner, it's just really fun.
Well, yeah, that's good writing. Which, like Kevin Newberry, who used to publish DFW Links, wonderful writer. Just being around him, reading him, helped me so much, because you want to write the way you talk. You don't want it to be stilted. And great writers, it's so simplistic, it's so clean. You can keep going back and making it tighter. I'm getting off on a little thing here. But I want to, before we get through, I want to talk a little bit about the future, just kind of what's coming up for you, and I want to use that as an excuse to plug my sponsors one more time before we sign off. Niagara Conservation, big supporter of the LPGA and the Ascendant, I think, a championship, to benefit the Volunteers of America. Coming up, much better date, the end of September. Early October, great time to be in Dallas. I hope you'll be playing in that again. I'm not sure if you are, but
me too.
But and also our golf courses: Dornick Hills in Ardmore, Oklahoma, the Tempest in Longview, and Veritex Bank. Just a real quick thing about Veritex: Paul Haley II. Talk about a journeyman from Royal Oaks. Randy Smith just finished 5th in the Colonial, made him a big fat paycheck wearing Veritex on his golf shirt. I know you mentioned Beverly Hills, Bel Air Country Club. I know you got some, La La Land trip coming up. So kind of walk us through what's coming up for you this year, and then we'll adjourn till next time. Yeah.
Well, I have 2 AJJ events coming up. So the first one is in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I have a tournament there later in the summer. It's the PGA Junior Championship.
Hot Springs Country Club, by chance?
Yes.
Yeah, the Arlington course,
Yeah.
Man, that's been there forever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great...
I've never played it.
I might try to come up and watch some of that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm excited for that. And then I go to Colorado, and then I come back and I have the qualifier for the LPGA event.
Okay.
And then I have the U.S. Girls Junior, which is in Colorado at the Air Force Academy Eisenhower course.
Wow.
Eisenhower Blue course.
Okay.
Never played there. And then I have PJ Junior at Hot Springs again. And then I have the U.S. Women's Amateur at Bel Air Country Club. And it's kind of funny because like in the moment, because I got in the U.S. Women's Amateur and the U.S. Girls Junior from winning the U.S. Women's Amateur 4-ball. And they have this big sign in front of the tee. It's like road to the U.S. Women's Amateur, and they have that really pretty trophy. And and then it says like the winners of the 2023 U.S. Women's Amateur 4-ball will receive an exemption into the U.S. Women's Amateur Championship to be held at Bel Air Country Club and all other age eligible
I made her take a picture with this sign before we teed
and
off.
like,
She said, "Oh, whatever, Dad."
And I don't even like look at that stuff because I'm like, okay, well, if I focus on that, I have so much golf to play.
Sure,
but as because there's a putting green right by it. And as we walked to the final match, I was like, wow, this is actually getting real. Like, okay, would I rather just really apply myself and really do my best in this match or have to go through 2 separate rounds of USGA qualifying? And I chose the former, and I'm super grateful for that. So I now know what my summer schedule is going to be like, and I'm super excited.
And you know what? We're kind of out of time, but I have to take at least a couple of minutes because we were ad-libbing before the show and how I've made peace with the fact you've done something I'll never get to do. Just a little bit on your Augusta experience because you played in the Augusta National Women's Amateur.
Augusta,
yes.
yeah,
Good
Augusta
job.
National Women's Amateur.
And you played. Was
Annual.
it the second one or the first?
Third.
Third.
Okay,
Yeah.
She was
the third one.
14.
So now had 4, right? Yeah. Okay.
I did. So that was a wonderful experience.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I love talking about my time at Augusta. I had an incredible caddy named Ben Sorrells, and he actually caddied for the club champion at Augusta, who we know. So he knew those greens inside and out.
Knox, that guy. What's his name? Knox? No, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're talking about the guy who always plays as the spotter.
Yeah,
He always gets to be the fill-in when they've got a single.
He has the course record there, I think.
Yeah, his name's John Swigert. Really nice guy.
Okay.
And he's they have I think it's called Jubilee is the tournament that they have.
Very
Memory
southern.
Guest or something.
Yeah, and they get like a replica, a little smaller version of the Masters trophy, and it's Tiffany.
my gosh.
It's incredible, sterling silver, and he's an awesome player, and he won it.
Yeah.
And
Did you have to pinch yourself a little bit when you were out there?
Yeah, it was.
it's crazy.
It was incredible. Playing the course, like, because we get that practice round in between Friday,
Sure.
and there's no spectators out there. Playing the course is a blast. Just having watched it so many times and knowing the history, that's one thing. But the course itself is genuinely so fun to play because it's so nuanced and every hole is different, and it's like a spectacular design.
Nuance, good word.
I'm definitely not the first person that said that Augusta National is a spectacular design, but when you play it, you definitely feel that. It's very undulated, and it just kind of tests you in all facets. So we got to the actual tournament day, and like I had no idea what to expect. I was just like new, and I remember I was putting on the practice green, and I had like by the range, so my back was facing where all the spectators enter. And I'm putting, and then my caddy, he was like, "You see that?" And I turned around, and I'm thinking he's going to be pointing at birds because they have this rumor that there are no birds at Augusta National. They just pump in bird noise, which is false. That's
Yeah.
false. So any of you conspiracy golf theorists out there, wrong. Anyway, but it was actually spectators, and I see this huge influx of people coming in. And for a women's golf tournament, pro or amateur, like you don't typically see that, especially a women's amateur golf tournament.
Right.
But it's just because the history at Augusta National and the culture there is so good that so many people are just happy to get on property.
Sure.
And when people are playing, like they just want to see good golf on arguably the greatest golf course ever. So that was a really special experience. I was like, wow, that's awesome. And then we got to the first tee. And I had all these friends that had come to watch me, and they're all saying hi to me, and I'm like, hi. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I don't know what to do. And then I get out there, and I'm on the tee, and I finally have space. And I'm like, okay, let's harness our chi. Let's get in the focus mindset. And then I turn around, and Condoleezza Rice, Annika Sorenstam, her husband, and Nancy Lopez are sitting right there.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like,
Like literally right
like,
there.
yeah.
They're like she's teeing off there. They're right on the front row, a rope and them. And like
and I was like,
go
this
hit it. Show
is
us.
Augusta National. This is the essence. So it's a really special experience that they've given the girls and women there, and I'm super fortunate that I get to be playing at an amateur level while they have this event.
That's fantastic.
That's all
fantastic.
Fred Ridley. I mean,
Yeah.
his vision of doing and probably who was the one before him? Billy Payne. Yeah, so they Chairman Payne. So
Billy Payne.
They both were coming up with that, and it was Billy Payne, I believe, was the brainchild behind the drive, chip, and putt, which is a whole other thing.
Yeah,
But
and the Olympics in '96 in Atlanta. He's quite the
visionary
entrepreneur.
Yeah. So Chairman Ridley, I'm sure he's got a few more tricks up his sleeve before he'll probably retire. I don't know, 10 years, whatever.
Right.
But I didn't know he was an incredible amateur player.
He won the U.S. Amateur. He beat Keith Fergus, who Keith probably would have beat him 9 times out of 10, but he didn't.
Well, I think
Fergus is my age. Somebody I want in the Texas Golf Hall of Fame.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
he's from here.
To be.
Oh.
He's from Killeen, and he went to the University of Houston.
Okay.
He won 3 on the regular, 3 on the web.com, and 3 on the senior tour.
Damn.
So I think he's worthy of the Texas Golf Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But he lost in the finals to Fred Ridley. Fred won the U.S. Amateur.
I think he's the last one to win the amateur to not turn pro. That's his
right.
Cliff Clavin fact that he has not. He's the last
Right.
one that never gave it a shot, and he just didn't want to. He's a very successful attorney, businessman, and now an icon. So it's pretty cool.
And Augusta's such a world treasure. I mean, it's like having the greatest golf event in the world in Tyler. Mm-hmm. I mean, because it's about the same size.
It is.
And for a week, the whole golf world's there. But this has been fun. We're running a little overtime because we just talked and we just enjoyed it. And
We did.
I can't tell you how excited I was for you and for your dad and for Gianna for you to win that tournament. And I was watching the progression, and we didn't even get into we're downplaying your original nickname, the Nugget, but I love the new one, and we'll sign off after this. Dr. Chapinski.
Oh no, that's worse. That's worse. Stop. I will take Nugget.
But that was brilliant. That was brilliant. Well, the shot was brilliant.
The shot. Yeah, the shot. That actually.
Was that your invention?
No.
Listen, I have no original thoughts. I'm just an amalgam of funny people, and I just pull it in one by one.
That's a good word, man.
He's a good funny filter, and he's passed that down onto me a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, the shot. That's actually another funny story. Do we have time?
Yes, we do. And we're gonna sign off. We're running a little over,
Okay.
but podcast people can watch, go do something else, come back and watch.
Gosh,
So
still talking,
please.
still going.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, so 14, that hole. So we were all square in the match. Tension is high, and that hole had been a nemesis hole for me. Like, it's a semi-island green, and the greens are super firm there, so it's visually intimidating, and it's long. That day it was playing like 167, and it's mostly all carry, and Gianna had done phenomenally on that hole. So I teed off first, and I was like, okay, well, Avery, we're not going to hit it in the water this time because I lost probably 2 sleeves of golf balls in the water, like throughout the course of that tournament. I'm not joking. And we're not going to hit in the water this time. So I didn't. I pulled it. But there's water behind the green, and earlier in the week, I had hit a shot that went over the green into the water. When you play in the finals, the USGA always has like an unnecessary amount of USGA officials like swarming around. So I see this guy in a white shirt and bucket hat just staring at this point next to the hazard.
Scurrying over there.
And
I'm
like,
oh, it's in the water. And
I just hit it in the water. And then I was like, okay, it's fine. Like, Gianna's been great on this hole. We're good. And then she like cuts it into the water, and hers was definitely in the water. And I was like, oh
my
okay.
gosh.
Well, worst case, we're just 1 down. It's fine. That wasn't fine, but it's in the moment. That's what I told myself.
Yeah.
And so when we get back there, and thankfully they had watered it a little bit, so the ground was a little bit more receptive, and my ball stopped. So I had a chip, and it was a very difficult chip shot.
I was praying for like just a par save, like 15-foot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because it was uphill and down, and if you hit it too hard, it was going in the water.
Just to set it up for everybody, you're at least 15 yards over the green, right? Or 10
she
or
was
15.
she was 72 feet from the hole, 24 yards.
And
I paced it
the
off.
other girl in the group had hit it to 15 feet for birdie.
Oh.
So yeah, so I was just over the
ominous.
shot. Gianna's over there like with her drop, and they were probably actually talking as I was hitting, because they were trying to figure out how she should drop. And then I hit, and
So 7-iron? I know it was
it was an 8-iron.
8-iron.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's just like putt shot.
Yeah,
and,
it was
a lot of
beautiful.
amateurs like are a really big fan that I hit that shot, but like when you have a bad lie, you just get on top of it, bring the heel up off the ground, and it takes away leading edge, and that's what I needed at that point. And I basically putted it. And I didn't think it was going to go in until like it dropped, and then I did this thing like I like immediately like whipped back and looked at him. He was to my right, and I was like like I didn't know what to do, and he was like boom, and then like everyone started yelling, and then like the video I actually posted, like you can see on my face like me processing what had just happened. I'm like in utter shock, and then I was like, Avery, compose yourself, this is not the end of the match. and then I was like chuckling like that actually just happened. Yeah, and then I wound up going over to Gianna and giving her a hug as if we had just won, and I was like, Avery, we didn't just win, you still have to play, like what are you doing? But yeah, that was
So
a
they
really
didn't make the
special
putt
moment.
either, right?
They did not.
It was
You won the hole.
That
very
was-
jarring to them.
Who were you? Was that yourself?
No, so the Golf Channel's following us around.
Oh, the
it was
Golf
just so
Channel did that.
fortuitous.
Okay.
And so they happened to be out there, and they got.
I mean, I watched the whole thing on film. It was beautiful.
Yeah, so they videoed that, and then they gave us the footage because Joe Trahan and some other people wanted it.
Cool.
So I sent it to Joe, and he put it on that night, which
Great
was awesome.
guy, Joe Trahan.
He's the best.
Yeah.
She's known him.
Yeah.
I've known him since Tulane when I played baseball, so it was a long.
Tulane. All
Many
right.
moons ago.
I love it. Green Wave.
Yep.
Hey, we're out of time. This has
We're
been
out of
fun.
time.
We're gonna have to do Avery, part 2, I guess. I don't know, but thank you so much for coming in, Ivan and Avery. And
Thank
again,
you.
I follow you. You may not realize it. I'm sure there are a lot of people like me that do that follow you, and we're just happy for you and want you to keep trucking.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for the
But
support.
you were an early adopter of the Nugget
Yes.
Well,
LLC.
you know
when
what?
she
I'm
was
almost
7.
remiss. Robin Dallatudo,
Yeah.
the sports angel. She's
Oh, yeah.
the one that turned me on to Avery Zweig.
Yep.
And by the way, you don't have to worry about where to line up if it's alphabetical, do you?
Thanks for bringing that up.
ZW.
Yeah,
There's no
it's-
way you get.
And like everyone, and at the USGA tournaments, they always get your name on the range, and literally every single time they're like, "Oh, you're easy to find. You're the last one," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is easy to find. Thank you. I'm so glad I can make your day a little bit better."
Right,
But,
right,
yeah.
right. Well,
So
well, Wheeler, I've been toward the end myself.
That's right.
But yeah,
yeah, college graduation's gonna be really fun.
Well, thanks again. I guess we could go on ad infinitum, but we need to wrap it up, and we will look forward to keeping up with you and having you back on.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.